Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and the mainstream media have done everything they can to suppress the report that I am about to share with you. So much so that this thing that I found discovered on NASA with NASA's stamp of approval on it has not been spoken about on any mainstream media site, even though it could affect your health and is if you are a flyer, a pilot, or a flight attendant and ever travel in the skies, well then you are being impacted and affected by this, and yet not a peep from mainstream media. NASA has discovered a phenomenon that poses a risk to air travelers. And that risk, well, radiation clouds, also known as what they're calling danger zones. Now, this is where radiation levels surge to the point where they pose an unrecognizable health hazard. Now, let me take you straight to the report. You can see NASA's stamp of approval on that, as well as the organization SBIR. The website is sbir.nasa.gov, and it's titled Space Environment Technologies, LLC. Now, this report details, it starts in the beginning. It says on any given day, nearly 2 million Americans board an airplane to get to their desired destinations. Although plenty of stressors come with flying, space radiation and space weather probably are not two of those worries. Though it has always existed to most people, space weather is a relatively new condition. It can influence the atmosphere, including the constant bombardment from cosmic rays and changed particles from solar storms that affect radiation levels on Earth and in space. It goes on to state that particles that make up space radiation may increase the risk of cancer development or other harmful health effects. Full admission there. Commercial airline employees, such as pilots and flight attendants, are the only occupationally exposed group that is not monitored in any systematic way. Now let's just hit the pause button before I get into the rest of this report, which I encourage you to read because it's only 2 pages long. But needless to say, we have an admission thus far from NASA saying that there are health risks being of airliners and people who travel, pilots, that they are being exposed to radiation and that it could cause cancer. Yet, I don't see any warning being sent out or any warnings listed anywhere when you fly, but then they go on to admit that it hasn't been something they have studied. Fascinating. Well, check out what else it has to say. In the report, it also says, quote, one of the findings revealed is that for every 10 hours spent flying, radiation exposure was equivalent to 1 chest x-ray. For pilots and flight attendants who regularly make these long-haul routes, this is a personal health issue that needs to be monitored. If that same flight is made while a particularly severe solar event is happening, suddenly that one flight could equal up to 5 chest x-rays. But how do pilots know if a solar event is happening? Well, that is Space Environment's technology they're seeking to answer that. In other words, they don't know exactly when these solar phenomenons are striking, but when they do, you get 5 times the levels on a normal day. Every 10 hours equals 1 chest x-ray exposure. And when you go through these radiation bursts or, your cloud radiation there, it has up to 5 times the amount of chest x-rays within those 10 hours. Therefore, they admit that there is levels of radiation being pushed by those up in the skies. Now, the report also goes on to detail, it says, quote, during a radiation event, there are regional areas that you can avoid, and you can significantly reduce the exposure by flying at lower altitudes or slightly more equatorward. Every 6,500 feet the plane drops, the radiation is cut into half. So this is the one thing that they have discovered thus far, is by lowering the plane, you can lower the radiation levels. But They also point out, quote, with new research and buzz on space weather alerting more flyers on the dangers of radiation, the FAA may soon be seeking an ubiquitous solution in accordance with international civil aviation standards. In other words, they're looking to put some standards on this. But meanwhile, fake news media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and the like, have nothing to say about what happens when you fly in those planes. That's what alternative media is good for. But here's a few other ties that I want to show you before moving on. Check out this report from enenews.com, which states, officials warn mysterious radiation cloud is spreading. Talking about what NASA's report showed, authorities baffled over the release. Could indicate leak from a nuclear plant. Particles are very radioactive. Now, before I move on and show you some of the other ones, let me just say this. They say this. I guess there are some levels that are normal and some that are unnormal and some that can skyrocket there when you're in the skies. But needless to say, there are levels above and beyond, obviously, regular standards that can happen while you are up in a plane in the sky. So things that we need to know. And the question is, where is all this radioactivity in these clouds coming from? Well, I didn't see one report on that from NASA saying this is where the radioactivity comes from. This is why our clouds are overly full. This is where the bursts of radiation are burst. Well, while some of it obviously can come from the sun because that does have rays in it, levels of that are found in the sun as well. But when we're doubling that, we have the sun, the radiation from the sun. We also have nuclear power plants leaking, such as Fukushima. We know Chernobyl a long time ago. Could that attribute to some of this radiation that is found in these clouds? If you consider the cycle, it goes up into the atmosphere and comes back down. We all know the cycle of rain. We know that it goes, we have the evaporation process and the clouds take it from down below, but needless to say, could some of it be in conjunction with some of that rain from nuclear plants? Possibly both the sun and the nuclear plants. Needless to say, they're finding some pretty peculiar things on there. Now, here's a few more reports that I found. JerseyEveningPost.com says radioactive cloud could be heading our way. WakefieldExpress.com, mysterious radioactive cloud moves towards the UK as plane which tackled Chernobyl called in to find the source. Euronews.com, Europe baffled by recent release of radioactive iodine 131. While some of these reports say that they pose no threat, interesting because no real studies have been done on the consequences of that, but yet it poses no threat. But they also told us that Fukushima posed no threat, but yet we have millions of fish dying in our seas on a daily basis. Interesting words to use there to say that, don't worry, nothing wrong with it. Obviously, they say that so there is no panic, but needless to say, other reports say it's just Russia testing missiles and some of that radiation is going up into the clouds. Others say, well, a slew of other things. What do you say? I'd love to hear it in the comments below. But here's the thing. There is radioactivity that's not being reported. That's a fact. NASA just put out one report on it on the internet. It hasn't been broadcasted wide, but they did let us know just via the internet. But yet every mainstream media outlet is ignoring it. And now we have planes flying overhead in European countries, even specifically there, monitoring these radioactive clouds, radioactivity in our skies. And now we even have a system, ARMAS, or I might get that lingo wrong. If I do, don't beat me up, but it's in the report. But this is the mechanical device that they've created in order to monitor what is going on with all of this. So obviously there is study underway and there's still study going on. So keep your eyes open, and don't forget, if you like what you heard here today, please hit that subscribe button now. Also, with all that crud being rained down on us from our skies, it is very important that you keep your health straight. I have a partner here, www.getthetea.com. He has some of the most amazing stuff, and I don't back anyone that I don't feel can do justice. And this guy has some of the best products out there. Some of my favorites, and I say this a lot, but I mean it, is the Life Change Tea. I've never seen a negative comment about it. It will detox you, specifically from chemicals, parasites, bacteria, and toxins. This is something that you're gonna wanna keep in your body, especially during times like this. And also, he's got other great products. The olive leaf extract here, I really like as well. And one other thing is foodforliberty.com/haven. If you're not prepped with food storage, now is the time to do so. Don't stop those preparations because Donald Trump is in office, because I still think they're very, very important, because you never know what tomorrow holds. So foodforliberty.com/haven. Anyhow, I'm Lisa Haven, and I'm signing out.